DeAndre Hopkins is ranked as the 30th best wide receiver recruit in the 2010 college football recruiting class, so where are the 29 receivers ranked higher than him now? Well, to start, just one spot ahead of him, and number 29 is Tevin Carter, coming out of Los Angeles, California, who committed to play for Cal. And he played 2 years at Cal before leaving the team in 2011. After this, he played 2 years at junior college before transferring to Utah, where he be converted to a defensive back and was solid there for 2 seasons. He never made it to the NFL, though, and is now currently working in an internship for Red Zone Real Estate. And coming in at number 28 is Michaela Harris, coming out of Miami, Florida, who committed to play for Louisville. And overall, in his time at Louisville, he was a solid wide receiver there for 3 seasons, but was never really that amazing. And he's now currently the wide receivers coach at Wolford. And at number 27 is Shaquem Phillips, coming out of Peterson, New Jersey, who committed to play for Boston College. And he didn't do much in his true freshman season at Boston College, and he grew frustrated, so in 2012, he transferred to UConn. And at Connecticut, he was a solid receiver there for 2 seasons before transferring back to Boston College in 2014, where he didn't do very much. He went undrafted in the NFL, though, and never played a single snap in the league, and is now currently the general manager of Equinox. And coming in at number 26 is Quinton Dunbar, coming out of Miami, Florida, who committed to play for the Florida Gators. And in his 4 years as the Florida Gators receiver, he was solid there, but it was never really that amazing, not having over 550 receiving yards in any seasons. And in 2015, he went undrafted, signing with Washington, where he'd actually be converted to a defensive back. And with them, he was a solid player there for 5 seasons, even having 4 interceptions in 1 year, last playing with the Green Bay Packers in 2021. And just cracking into the top 25 is Sean Kitchens, coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, who committed to play for Auburn. And he was a complete and total bust at Auburn, only ever playing 1 season there, where he had 1 catch for -3 yards and then would be sentenced and never played again. And at number 24 is Marcus Lucas, coming out of Liberty, Missouri, who committed to play for the Missouri Tigers. And at Missouri, he'd actually be converted to a tight end there and was a great tight end for the Tigers for 4 seasons. Even despite this, though, he still went undrafted in 2014 and signed with the Carolina Panthers, where he bounced around just about every single team in the NFL. He sadly, though, still never played a single snap in the NFL, mostly being a practice squad player and last playing with the St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL in 2020. And at number 23 is Vincent Sanders, coming out of Mississippi, who committed to play for Ole Miss. And he was actually a pretty good receiver there for 4 seasons, but never made to the NFL, becoming a high school football coach and now currently a production supervisor for Wayne Sanderson Farms. And coming in at number 22 is Solomon Patton, coming out of Mobile, Alabama, who committed to play for the Florida Gators. And he didn't do much of anything until his senior season there. He had a good year with over 500 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns as he be named a second-team All-SEC selection. He still, though, went undrafted in 2014 and signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he actually played in 7 games for them in his rookie season. He never played again, though, in the NFL, last playing in the CFL in 2016. And at number 21 is Matt Milton, coming out of Illinois, who committed to play for the Tennessee Volunteers. And he played 2 seasons at Tennessee, only having 1 catch there before transferring to Louisville in 2013, where he also didn't do very much. And now he's currently the founder of Millipro Enterprises and works at the Mushroom Coffee Company as director of operations. And just cracking in the top 20 is Kewan Malone, coming out of Memphis, Tennessee, who committed to play for Alabama. And he never played a single snap at Alabama, as he be suspended and then kicked off the team, transferring to Memphis. And at Memphis, he grew to become a pretty solid receiver there, but never made to the league and is now currently a coach at the University of Memphis. And at number 19 is Antonio Goodwin, coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, who committed to play for the Auburn Tigers. And he was a complete bust at Auburn, never having a single catch there and only having 1 punt return for 7 yards. He then would be charged and never played another down of football. And coming in at number 18 is James Louis, coming out of Delray Beach, Florida, who committed to play for Ohio State. And he saw absolutely no playing time at Ohio State for 4 seasons, so he transferred to FIU, where he also never played. And he was just overall a bust. And at number 17 is Ross Oppo, coming out of Arlington, Texas, who committed to play for BYU. And he would go on to become a pretty solid receiver at BYU for 4 seasons, but was never that amazing. And now he's currently the head trainer at Mile Wide Receiver. And coming in at number 16 is Adrian Coxon, coming out of Baltimore, Maryland, who committed to play for Florida. And he never played a down of Florida, transferring to Maryland in 2011, where he played there for 1 year. And he transferred to Stony Brook in 2012, where he was a solid receiver there and actually got to sign with the Green Bay Packers in 2015, but never played a snap in the NFL. And cracking into the top 15 is Martavis Bryant, coming out of South Carolina, who committed to play for Clemson. And at Clemson, he was a great receiver there for 3 seasons with insane average yards per catches, and we're going to be selected in the 4th round of the 2014 NFL Draft by the Steelers. And with the Steelers, he was actually a pretty good receiver there, but just could not stay out of trouble, bouncing around many different teams and last playing with the Commanders in 2024. And coming in at number 14 is Kenny Stills, coming out of California, who committed to play for Oklahoma. And he was a truly great receiver for the Sooners for 3 seasons, as he be a 2-time second-team All-Big 12 selection, and then we're going to be selected in the 5th round of the 2013 NFL Draft by the Saints. And in the NFL, he was never a great receiver, but was truly reliable, as he had over 4,900 receiving yards and 38 touchdowns in his career, last playing for the Saints in 2021. And at number 13 is DeAndre White, coming out of Texas, who committed to play for Alabama. And in his 4 years at Alabama, he was a solid receiver, but was never amazing, actually winning 2 national championships with them. He still sadly went undrafted in 2015 and signed with the San Francisco 49ers, actually getting to see some playing time in the NFL and even winning a Super Bowl, last playing with the Ravens in 2020. And coming in at number 12 is Kenny Shaw, coming out of Orlando, Florida, who committed to play for Florida State. And he was a good receiver at Florida State, bursting on the scene in 2013, but still went undrafted in 2014 2014, signing with the Browns. And he bounced around many different teams in the NFL, never playing a single snap in the league, and last playing with the Edmonton Elks of the CFL in 2020. And at number 11 is Kadron Broom, coming out of Florida, who committed to play for LSU. And overall, in his 4 years at LSU, he was solid, but just kind of a disappointing receiver. They're signing with the Philadelphia Eagles as an undrafted free agent in 2014, but never playing a snap in the NFL. And he last played in the CFL in 2016. Just cracking into the top 10 is TJ Jones, coming out of Gainesville, Georgia, who committed to play for Notre Dame. And in his first 3 years at Notre Dame, he was a good receiver, but bursted on the scene in his senior season. As in this year, he had over 1,100 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns, and would be selected in the 6th round of the 2014 NFL Draft by the Detroit Lions, where he was solid there for 4 seasons. And after this, he last played in the CFL in 2020. And coming in at number 9 is Chris Jones, coming out of Dangerfield, Texas, who committed to play for the Texas Longhorns. And he redshirted his freshman season there before not seeing any playing time in the next year and then deciding to leave the school. After this, he never played football again and is now currently the global account manager for NVIDIA. And at number 8 is Ivan McCartney, coming out of Hollywood, Florida, who committed to play for West Virginia. And in his 4 years at West Virginia, he was a solid receiver, but was never really that amazing. So he decided to stop playing and become a coach, and he's currently the wide receivers coach at the University of Fort Lauderdale. And at number 7 is Markeith Abels, coming out of Georgia, who committed to play for USC. He only had 1 catch for 3 yards in his entire career at USC, so he transferred to Houston, where he was solid for 2 seasons, but never great. After this, though, he never played in the NFL, bouncing around the CFL and last playing in 2023. And coming in at number 6 is Chris Dunkley, coming out of Florida, who committed to play for the Florida Gators. And he never played for the Gators, transferring to South Florida. He was a solid receiver, but was never great. And after that, he became the regional sales director for the Coca-Cola Company. Just cracking into the top 5 is Justin Hunter, coming out of Virginia, who committed to play for Tennessee. And in his first 2 years, he didn't do very much before bursting on the scene in 2012 with over 1,000 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns, as he'd be a second-team All-SEC selection. And after this, he would go on to be selected in the 2nd round of the 2013 NFL Draft by the Titans, where he was solid but never great. He then bounced around the NFL, last playing for the Steelers in 2018. And coming in at number 4 is Darius White, who committed to play for Texas. And he played 2 years at Texas, not doing much, so he grew frustrated and transferred to Missouri, where he was solid for 2 seasons but never great. And now he's currently the principal consultant at Primal Consulting. And cracking into the top 3 is Derek Rogers, coming out of Georgia, who committed to play for Tennessee. He didn't do much in his true freshman season there before in 2011, having over 1,000 receiving yards and being one of the best receivers in the SEC. After this, though, he'd be suspended and kicked off Tennessee's team and had to transfer to Tennessee Tech, where he was good. He still, however, went undrafted in 2013 and signed with the Bills. And he only ever played 5 games in the NFL with the Colts, last playing in the CFL. And coming in at number 2 is Mike Davis, coming out of Dallas, Texas, who committed to play for the Longhorns. And he was actually a pretty good receiver at Texas for 4 seasons, as he became a second-team All-Big 12 selection, but sadly went undrafted in 2014 and signed with the Raiders. And he sadly never played a single snap in the NFL, last playing in the CFL in 2016. And at number 1 was Kyle Prater, coming into Illinois, who committed to play for USC. He was a complete bust at USC, only having 1 catch in his entire career there, so he transferred to Northwestern. And at Northwestern, he was a solid receiver there for 3 seasons, but was never great, going undrafted in 2015 and signing with the Saints. He also, though, never played a single snap in the NFL and is currently an account manager for Vin Vivit.